I just wanted to make sure that you listeners are listening to the Drapetomaniac podcast on doayamedia.com. You are, right?
Peace, family, and welcome to this edition of the Drapetomaniac podcast. This is Ayapo Yapa, the HDIC, that is the head Drapetomaniac in charge, and I'm here with my beautiful wife.
Hello, Angela.
And we're here to have conversations on how to get off this plantation. Well, I'm here with Angela again, and I've determined that I like the format where I'm talking to Angela about different subjects because as I told her, she brings a lot to the table and a lot to the discussion, and I just enjoy bouncing ideas back and forth off of her, and I think that everybody can get something out of it. So anyway, that's without any real ado, the subjects I told you I would like to discuss are the movie, the Billie Holiday movie, and then the other part will be about our vegan journey.
In that order, or in
which way do you want to do it?
I think maybe starting with our vegan journey together.
Okay.
I guess I want to just say that I started making my transition into vegetarianism when my grandmother probably passed away when I was before I started high school. So like in the 80s, or maybe a little before the 80s, my mother stopped buying meat in the house. So if I had, not meat, just red meat. If I was to eat meat, red meat, it was outside of the house. So that's kind of the first time I started thinking about vegetarianism or veganism or anything like that. By the time I went away to school around 89, I started my transition into vegetarianism. So by about 90, 91, I was a vegetarian. I gradually started, first I stopped eating pork, then I stopped eating beef, then I stopped eating chicken, then I stopped eating fish. And as a part of that process, there was a point when I stopped eating dairy and then stopped eating sugar. Just kind of exploring what veganism would mean to me, or what it would mean to not have refined white sugar in my diet as well. And I never considered myself a vegan, but, I have had periods when I was vegan. But I think that this month that we spent together being vegan is the first time that I've ever just been vegan. Like, I guess I have been stabilized as a vegetarian for so long that this is kind of the first time that I can remember being conscious of being just vegan. So that's a little background about my journey.
Well, for you, I've only been a vegetarian for about 3 years, and when it comes to going vegan, I didn't think that would be that much of a change, but a couple things happened while we were on this month of going vegan. Was I told you, my sinuses were clearing up, and I was feeling a lot better. We went off. We stopped being vegan on the 1st of this month, and I immediately, started having like my cheese or whatever. Still don't do milk. I'll have like almond milk or whatever, but still with the cheese and that. And I haven't told you, but I definitely can tell a difference in my body. And when I say tell a difference, I mean not for the better.
Can we go back? Because when you said your sinuses opened up, you didn't have any consciousness of your sinuses being closed, did you?
No,
okay.
none whatsoever. That's how I could tell.
Okay.
But now that I've incorporated some dairy back in, I can definitely tell a difference. As far as becoming a vegetarian, the first thing I stopped eating was seafood, and that was because of Fukushima and because of the radiation. So I immediately cut that off, and seafood is my favorite, my favorite thing.
Could you tell any difference with that other than missing something that you enjoyed eating?
Couldn't really tell any difference.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't want to be all irradiated. But then after that, I had cut out red meat, like right after I'm saying red meat. I had cut out beef, and pork even before that. And so everything I would eat would either be turkey or chicken.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was like, if I was making sloppy joes or whatever, or even hamburgers or any dish that required beef, like chili or whatever, I would use turkey.
But you were still buying burgers out to eat, weren't you? Beef burgers, or you weren't buying beef burgers out?
No, I take it back. Now I think about it. I was. Every now and then I still get beef burgers. I hadn't even considered it like that because I wasn't buying it and bringing it to the home. Yeah. But then after I went vegetarian, of course I stopped eating that altogether. Mm-hmm. But the experience of being a vegan, as I told you, the only thing that really bothered me about it was having to check everything check the ingredients so closely. I mean, I check ingredients, but just passively.
Yeah, and it causes a little stress for me because sometimes you'll bring food into the house, and because I've been a vegetarian for so long, mm-hmm. and I guess not just a vegetarian, but I really try to pay attention to what I eat. I try not to eat a lot of processed foods. So I try not to eat a lot of things that have ingredients that I need to read. Mm-hmm. But when I do, I have learned that just because it says all natural on the front, I don't know what kind of mess and confusion is in it. Right. Or just because something says vegetable soup, it could still be made with a beef broth or a chicken stock. Right. And so I've gotten really kind of... I really try to pay attention to that, and we've had some tension with that before. Where
because I don't check it that close. That's like me getting like things that have like marshmallow in it. Right. And you said marshmallow, has pork in it. Right, but I mean, like even like stuffing, I still can't even imagine that. But
like you'll say, it does. I think it's made like with the bones of pigs, but I'm not really sure. Mm-hmm. That's just something that's like a little thing that people you learn over time. Right. But like when I had stopped eating pork in my mind years ago, I remember I was living in New York at the time, and I would get a slice of pepperoni pizza. And I had said to someone something about, well, I don't eat pork. And they're like, you eat pepperoni all the time. I'm like, pepperoni isn't pork. And it just had never really registered in my mind. I don't know if I knew what pepperoni was. I had never bought it. Had certainly never read the ingredients. Right. But I didn't realize. But yeah, like something like gelatin. I don't think of that, but like when you get like that stuffing, and it'll have like a chicken broth and during our vegan journey, during this last month, you brought something in the house, and it was that fake beef, and it wasn't vegan.
And it had egg in it.
Oh yeah,
that's what the problem was.
Yeah. But I guess I kind of feel like maybe because I'm so distrustful, and over the years, I feel like there are all of these things where they're like, this is good for you, this is good for you. And when I look at the ingredients, I'm like, this is some bull. This isn't good for you. So like, I just can't, like the idea, I'm like, good, you have to read the ingredients on everything. And you're like, no, I don't want to read the ingredients.
I don't. You know what? It's like people say about love or about relationship. It shouldn't be that hard of work to do. Yeah, it takes some work. But it shouldn't be like this drudgery work.
I mean, reading ingredients is not drudgery. And I feel like...
To you. For me, it's a lot.
And I feel like you're like with food, you're like the person who wants to just like, if you say anything to them about soul, like, well, why was the black man, he couldn't be black the whole movie. He had to be blue and he had to be an animal. They'll be like, I just want to go to the movie and just enjoy the movie. I don't want to be thinking about all of that. I don't want to be thinking about the ingredients. I don't want to be thinking about the politics. politics. That's how I feel like you are with food. And
I am with food. Like, I don't want to have to examine it on a subatomic level just so I can freaking eat it.
But I feel like that's because you have a real processed food orientation. So like, I feel like we like cheese puffs are nothing that occurs naturally, and like, it's not even like and that's something you like to like. So I feel like this type of things that you think of as food require, to me, they require.
I don't think that's food.
Well, you like to eat it, so
yeah,
I feel
but
like
that doesn't mean I think it's food. I don't consider cheese puffs to be food. I don't consider processed food to be food.
Well, when you make chili and you put that fake beef in there, is that food to you? Because it has a fake beef and it's processed.
It's a food stuff, but it's not. But it's not food.
What do you consider food?
Those grapes.
That's
bananas,
food.
Tomatoes.
And I feel like if you're dealing with food,
greens.
there really aren't ingredients to read. Although I still don't trust this
point.
system. I still don't trust the system because I feel like, for example, with the bananas, we try to get organic bananas. I try to pay attention to seeing seeds inside of the bananas now that that's become part of my consciousness.
Right.
I don't trust these businesses, these corporations. Like, they say it's organic. I don't know what the skid is. It could be anything for all I know. I don't know. You know, they have all these little loopholes. They're liars. They're cheats. They're, technically it is. The chickens are free range.
Well, that's the thing. When it comes to you and me, we don't disagree on that because I think anything corporate is suspect. And just because something says, as a matter of fact, when something says all natural and it comes from a corporation, then to me that almost means the opposite. Like I say, it's going down a conveyor belt and it's spraying like a ton of chemicals on it, and then it'll have like one eyedropper, a drop of lemon, ping, natural lemon,
right?
You know what I mean,
right?
And when it comes to the FDA, they set these guidelines so it's like the bare minimum because the manufacturers are paying the FDA. So, and
paying the government officials to deregulate the FDA or not have any suit. But I noticed, I think the same day, maybe because you mentioned it, and I can be empathetic like that. Like if someone is like, "Oh, my foot is hurting," then I might be like, "My foot is hurting a little bit too." I don't always say it out loud, but I tend to kind of. And so when you mentioned, when you were talking about your sinuses, and I'm jumping back to the vegan thing more personally. It was like that day or the next day, I noticed, my sinuses are doing something. And we were probably maybe 20 or 24 days in before that happened. And that process kind of reminded me, for years I would do, every season I would do like a cleanse, like 3 or 10 days, depending, usually 3 to 10 days, usually 10 days, sometimes as little as 3, but most of the time it was a 10-day cleanse. Winter, spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall. And one time, after I had stopped doing those cleanses, I think I did like a 20-day cleanse. And for me, like a cleanse might mean eating only raw foods or drinking. I've done the master cleanse before a few times. Just drinking juices or eating fruits or whatever. But most of my cleanses were like basically raw. And I remember I did like a 20-day cleanse or something over 10 days. And about 10 or 11 days in, my body started acting different. And it kind of surprised me because I felt like all these years of cleansing, by shutting it down after 10 days, I hadn't experienced some things that happened later on in the process. Like instead of my body reacting and changing immediately, some things take time. And so, the fact that we were like so far in before I noticed anything with my sinuses was kind of interesting to me. And I want to, as much as possible, keep everything open and clear.
Well, after doing a month vegan, I can see where one day I'll probably go back to that permanently. But I still have to work my way through just being a vegetarian.
Mm-hmm.
And my message to anybody that's listening, if you're going vegetarian and you still, it's like anything else. It's like growing up, child, baby, toddler, adolescent, adult, blah blah blah. Where you go through stages as you mature in something. Now, Angela has been a vegetarian since she's a teenager, basically, and I've been one for 3 years. And like she'll see me eating some cookies or chips or whatever, and I'll be like, oh well, you're eating all this processed this and that. Well, I'm not where you are. I'm still growing. I'm still learning. And I'm still adjusting my taste. But my message to anybody that's out there, if you're doing this and it's hard it may seem hard to stick with it, or you fall back and have some meat or what, don't let that stop you. Mm-hmm. Whatever you do, don't let that stop you, because I went cold turkey on anything that came out the ocean. And and getting away from beef was actually a process. And so I just slowly weaned from that until I got to where I don't eat any meat at all. And now I'll eat things that are like meat substitutes. I can see where I'll eventually wean from that. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, don't say, oh, well, I have to have this or I have to have that, and you go and grab a Whopper or whatever. Don't let that stop you. Mm-hmm. Or change you, because it's all just like Angela said, that I do agree with. Not that I disagree with others, but you're like, it's not all about getting rid of stuff. It's about incorporating better into what you're eating. If it's taking you some time to get away from meat, say you have 3 chicken legs and some rice and a little bit of broccoli, and then eventually it becomes a lot more broccoli and some rice and 2 pieces of chicken. Then it becomes 1 piece of chicken and more broccoli and brown rice, and then eventually you're looking at a plate that's broccoli and brown rice. So it's about incorporating more and better into your diet, as opposed to just trying to go all at once. Some people can, and some people it's a process with them.
I think of it as elevating the eating, and I talk about that, like what can you add? What can you eat that is adding value? Right. What can you eat that's wholesome? And I struggle. Like, I feel like, even though maybe if we look at it in terms of years, so maybe I'm like a 30-year-old vegetarian. Maybe as a vegetarian, I'm like 30 years old. But I actually feel like I'm a pretty immature vegetarian, because I like, one of the things, sometimes when I fuss at you or whatever is because I'm accustomed to having my home organized in a certain way so that I don't have temptations in the home, and that helps me. So when I have temptations in the home, whereas you might have like cookies and just eat them, one a day. I'm like a cookie monster, because, I just,
Right. That's what I have. I have kind of a, I won't say a problem with that. As much as I can't wrap my mind around it, because there's stuff that you'll see that I'll get and it'll just sit, because I just, I don't feel like I have to eat it.
Right.
If it's something going at it, I'm like,
what is wrong? Right. It's because I basically for me, it's like more or less out of sight, out of mind. And if I can mentally not buy it, then that's like half the battle. Right. But if it's in the house, like even little things like you'll notice that like stuff that's on the table, sometimes I'll move it so I can't see it. Right. Because then if I see it, every time I walk by the kitchen, my hand is going to go in it. Every time I see it, it's like a suggestion to me.
Whereas me, the stuff will just sit.
Yeah.
And which you get upset about that too, because
then I feel like sometimes this stuff gets wasted. Yeah,
right.
That stresses me out. But I'm kind of high strung, so I try not to get too invested in the stuff that stresses me out, because I know I'm emotional. So I don't know, I don't take it that deeply.
And
but
I think it also is part of adjusting to being married.
To you,
right, for me, because I would have something sitting, and it would just sit, and it would be there, and it's for me, things are kind of like, if it's not there, then I'm thinking about it and I want it. If it's there, I don't even think about it. And so if I decide I want a cookie or something, I can just reach and get one. That's why when I go to the store and you're saying, how come you're buying 2 or 3 of those?
Because you figure I'm going to go through one.
Right. Or 2. And then
but no, I don't want to go through 1 or 2.
I'll get stuff and then I'll go together. I'm like, where'd it go? By the time I'm finally ready to get it, I'm like, where'd it go?
Yeah. Yeah, but those peanut butter cookies are good, because I don't really care for those, so you don't have to worry about me eating them.
Those devil creams though.
What, the Oreos?
No, those little Debbie's. I'll get a box of those. I'll be like, Lord have mercy, where'd they go? Yeah,
the last time I don't think I ate. I might have eaten one, but I try not to eat them, like all of that, because I know that is like so processed. But when I first became a vegetarian, I used to still eat Twinkies.
Really?
And I can't imagine eating a Twinkie now, but I used to be a Twinkie as a child, and through my late teens.
But as far as
they don't even exist anymore, do they? Twinkies?
Oh yeah, they still make them.
I thought they went out of business.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they still make them. But as far as good foods go, a grape doesn't stand a chance around me. Mm-hmm. I love me some grapes, and that's kind of a problem, because my understanding is that those pick up radiation easy.
And they're also they're full of pesticide. And I'm weird about seedless stuff. It's hard to find grapes with seeds, and then organic, so grapes, even though they are very, very sweet.
Right. And that's why we'd be getting now Anjali's remedy book. Furnace of Affliction, available on Amazon.
Is it available now? Did you find it?
I think it's. I'll check. Go on to talk. I'll check right now.
Talk about what?
what we're talking about.
So that's all. I mean, I guess in terms of letting go of something or detaching from something, I definitely think it's a process. And the other thing I think, in my experience with food, and I've probably said this before, is that the people that you're around do make a difference. So I feel like, there was a point when I was a relatively new vegetarian, and I worked with someone who was like 30 years a vegetarian. He never called himself a vegetarian. He just didn't eat. He's like, I just haven't chosen to eat meat for 30 years, but I don't really like labels and stuff like that. But he would, I would come into the office, and he might have like a half a watermelon on the desk, and a fork, and just like sit and eat. And it was like the best environment for me. I noticed that, there were a couple other people in the office who were vegetarians, and we ended up having a salad club for everybody in the office. And, it was just kind of like an environment where, we kind of encouraged one another. But it wasn't like, I encourage you. It was just like you were just surrounded by people who were eating a certain way. And so for me, it was an inspiration, and I guess I'm pretty suggestible, so it was like a good suggestion for me. Whereas, like, I remember.
Oh, there it is.
It's on Amazon now.
It is on Amazon. Furnace of Affliction: Healing Radiation Damage to the Human Body, by Anjali Shabazz, and it's $25. And I'm making my purchase right now as we speak.
Aren't you fancy?
So, yes, let me make that purchase.
And then I remember spending time around my dad's place, and he was, at that time, he's a businessman, but he was selling, people would come there for fried fish, and there was something he did, I don't know, he would explain to me how he prepared the fish that was so special that people, I don't, like, it's something like he cut it and it didn't curl, or he cut it and it did curl, and he would change his oil twice a day. I don't know. But he would have that fried fish that people would come from all over the city to get. I didn't eat fish at that time, so I've never tried his fried fish.
Mm-hmm.
And chili cheese fries, hot dogs, hamburgers. I think that was kind of like the type of menu that it was. And so at one point I was spending a lot of time with him. And so I had gotten some like frozen veggie burgers. But oh my God, I ate so many French fries there. Like, oh, drop me some fries, or, add some fries to that order for me. And then I'd have a veggie burger, and the veggie burger was that processed bulk of mess and confusion. And then the white bread buns. It was like, it was better than eating, to me, a chili cheese fry, but just barely. Like I feel like that environment, and people were like, oh my gosh, you're so healthy. And it was like that environment, I feel like, was not a good suggestion for me, So, yeah, I feel like try to, as much as possible, if you're trying to make a transition, as you're making a transition, try to be around people, and be around people literally, but also figuratively, as in reading books, watching movies, because I have found over the years that, a book will kind of refresh my consciousness and give me some new ways of thinking about stuff and looking at stuff, or a movie. We've watched a couple of things on Netflix. It seemed like we watched something within the last month or so. That was sort of, helpful in terms of creating an environment where I'm thinking about things in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So consider that if you don't have literally people around you who can be an encouragement and inspiration. And then the other piece of what I wanted to talk about was just as Black folks, with our eating habits. I remember in college reading or being exposed to, I don't know, I think I had a copy of African Holistic Health, and I might have read it, but it's been so long ago. And there are some ideas in that book that some people think are really, really crazy, but I really like the idea of, just Black people and thinking about us and our health and our bodies and how we live and how we have lived. Because Black people, there are so many of us. I have come to believe that, there are some of us who are, herders and probably deal with beef and milk more than other people, depending on the climate, depending on, your genetics. Your body is going to give you information about you. And I've become a fan of really paying attention to how my body feels in terms of making decisions for, what works for me. So, I can read something and it can sound good, but I feel like the best thing for me to do is to try it out.
Right.
And, how does it feel? Do I feel better? Do I feel worse? I just really try to pay attention to how things feel in my system. Like I've noticed for years, how dairy feels in my system. A lot of times I can, it's, if I get too much, I can definitely feel myself being congested, right, and, feel myself being vulnerable to colds.
Well, that's like, I told you about how when I'm about to drink a milkshake, that I know that I'm going to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
I know it because I'm lactose intolerant.
Mm-hmm.
But like most people, because the human body wasn't made to take cow's milk anyway.
Some
if that's
people,
if that's milk,
But I think they say it's like 80%, 60% of people in the world are lactose intolerant, and some people are tolerant of it. I don't notice any reaction like that. I just get congested.
But I think overall, human beings aren't supposed to be drinking cow's milk.
That makes sense because a cow's milk is for baby cows, just like human milk is for baby humans.
Right.
Like, why are we drinking cow's milk? It's designed to help them to grow and develop. And
so, that said, I want to do a real quick plug. I just purchased Furnace of Affliction by Anjali Shabazz. It is a book of radiation cures, and I haven't even read it yet, but I know it's going to give a lot of background and information about the radiation problem, and also ways that you can negate the effects of it in your body. Because basically, because of Fukushima and other man-made disasters like that, but Nothing has reached the magnitude of Fukushima yet. But the radiation is in the air. You eat it, you drink it, you breathe it. I mean, it's just there, and you can't really get away from it. So you need to figure out how to find ways to chelate it out. So I just bought it. It was $25 on Amazon, and I'm looking forward to getting it.
Okay.
And I already purchased her first book, This Black, which is a fictional novel, but it's also based on that same research.
Yeah. When I was out of the country in December on the beach, I read like a literal book, like a paper book. So on my list of books that I want to read the next time that I'm on a beach, I have two. I have This Black by Ajali, and I also have the new book that we got in from African Esquire, Tieni Cherie, called... It's about the child welfare system, or the welfare of black children.
Yeah,
I can't even remember the name of it now.
Title, because we just bought that one too.
But I'm looking forward to. Those are some of the paper books that.
Right, support black businesses.
And read and think and grow and develop and explore.
Read.
Life is so exciting. There are so many ways to become a better person.
African Esquire's book is fostering false identity, the child welfare system's design of social control of the black family. And say her actual name again.
Tieni Cherie. I don't know how to. Is that? But what's the title? What's the author's name on the book?
Tierney.
Tierney. She says it so fast.
Heree.
Tierney.
I know I can't pronounce it. I just still call her African. After she says it,
I can. It's fresh in my mind. But anyway, yeah. So I'm looking. Yeah. I'm interested. I'm looking forward to and interested to read those books, and just been thinking a lot about reading a little bit more digitally, but paper also.
Right.
And then two more things I want to say about veganism. I don't know what time it is, and if we'll even be able to cover this in one, or how long we're
going. We're at about half an hour right now.
Okay. So I really was excited to sign up for it's like Vegan February, but it was by a black vegan organization, and I just thought that was interesting. Although, so they sent emails every day, but I didn't end up reading them. But I think they were sending like recipes and encouragement and stuff like that. So I probably should have their names so I can plug them. But I actually don't have any opinion about them except for that, I feel like as black folks, part of loving ourselves and loving each other is taking good care of ourselves, taking the best care that we can of ourselves, and trying to take better and better care of ourselves.
Well, I think that's part of, and I've said it a lot of times, but I think that's part of separating also.
Yes.
Because I do consider white people's food or processed food to be white people's food. And I think that I know that processed foods have adverse effects on white people, but I think they are devastating to black people because that just is not our food. Yeah. And the way our body handles it, because white metabolism and black metabolism are definitely different. So that's part of separating, because you separate from that. And yeah, I still eat some, I still eat processed mess. And confusion, and and working my way away from it, because I consider that part of separating. And you're eating that and you get sick, and if you're sick, then that plugs you into their pharmaceutical and medical connection, and so you just keep plugging.
Pharmaceutical are one industry, I think. Agricultural, as in food, buying the corn, growing the corn to make corn puffs, or what are the cheese puffs or corn puffs, I think. But anyway, so
you got something like Monsanto that simultaneously makes quote unquote food and pesticides. Right. Now, what's that saying?
Right. Well, it says they're trying to kill the bugs so that you can get good, wholesome food, sir. That's what it's saying.
Yeah, right. They're genetically modifying things, especially like corn. and
oh my
then
gosh.
making it illegal for farmers to use anything but their product.
Seeds, right?
And that's a mess.
That's a mess. With the little bit that I heard about that is, or read about it, whatever, is very disturbing. And then the other thing, just on Clubhouse the other day, I caught the end of a conversation. It kind of got on my nerves a little bit, but it was like, what is white veganism? So I was a little annoyed just by the title. Like, I think it was like a black vegan organization. And I'm like, why are we talking about white people? But anyway,
right.
And then when I got on there, someone was like, yeah, it was like question and answer time. Someone was like, yeah, I just want to know why, white people. And I'm like, I don't understand why we're talking about white people. Is this a group of black people? Are there white people here who are supposed to talk for all white people? But anyway, he was like, I just want to know why, me becoming a vegan for my health because I was dealing with cancer is less viable, less respectable, less authentic than someone becoming a vegan to protect animals. And, kind of they got into a little bit of a conversation about how there's this like, how a lot of white people, white culture, white society or whatever seems to value animals more than black people.
Right.
Which I think is true. But I am interested in, I guess just conversations with like that it was black people talking about food and nutrition and like, one of the things that I used to love to do, and this was straight up mess and confusion, is go to Vegan Soul. And I would go, in Chicago, I would always go to Vegan Soul. In DC, I would go to Vegan Soul. One time I had plans to go to LA not to LA, but Long Beach, California. And they have a Vegan Soul. And it's just sort of like, I feel like that's like, even though the thing about Vegan Soul, this kind of mess and confusion, is it reminds me of a lot of the foods that I ate growing up. Mm-hmm. Too greasy, too salty, too sweet, just mess and confusion. But it tastes delicious to me because it's what, it's part, but there are other things now that taste delicious to me that are, a little cleaner.
Right.
But still, I don't know how to explain it, but it's something about black people and how we do things. And I feel like even black people as vegans, there's like there's a flavor, there's a flair, right. There's a vibration that I really, really enjoy.
Right,
so,
that's just us.
Right. So I was just kind of excited that, hey, it's this group of black folks talking about food and nutrition. And when I talked earlier about, who you're around and what they're talking about and getting into situations where, people are adding value and talking about positive things and, sharing their experiences with food and nutrition and separating from BS and embracing more love and good and God and all of that. Right. So anyway, I was just thinking about, some people feel that, vegetarianism and veganism, that's some white stuff. That ain't for black people. But I disagree. I totally disagree. And I think that we're probably disproportionately.
And a lot, if you'll notice, a lot of the stuff that I'm doing, I actually recognize, I didn't recognize it before, but I recognize that a lot of stuff I do is transitional. Mm-hmm. Whereas, I'm picking up a habit that is not that hot, but it's an elevation. But it's a habit that came out of nowhere. Oh. But I'll start by saying this: like there's like all these vegetarian and vegan alternatives, plant-based alternatives. They're plant-based meats, right? Mm-hmm. That to me is like my transition point because I don't eat actual meat, but I'll eat meats that are made from plant. Now I imagine that I'm going to be doing a lot of jackfruit. Without saying too much about it, I imagine I'm going to be doing a lot of jackfruit.
And jackfruit is a really whosome thing.
Right.
You've tried it. I haven't. But I hear people just raving about it. And you said it was good.
I had some, it was like made as a pulled pork. And it was jackfruit. And you couldn't have told me that was not meat.
Yeah.
And it was so good. Yeah. And it's not mess and confusion. It's not made in a lab. It's not chemicals. It's just a fruit or it's
some
a fruit.
kind of plant. Yeah, I don't know what
that tastes like that.
When you season it and cook it. Yeah.
Right. And so I imagine I'll be eating a lot of this, but a lot of this other stuff is, they fool around and finagle it somehow, this corporate stuff. And I just see that as kind of a transition. The thing that's not so good is I got a taste for beer. Uh-huh. And I never liked beer. I already don't drink alcohol. I'm teetotaler. So I already don't drink alcohol, but then they have this non-alcoholic beer, which I guess would be tantamount to if I was like drinking sparkling wine or sparkling grape juice or whatever. It's just zero alcohol. So they have these zero alcohol beers, and I acquired a taste for beer. And it doesn't matter that it's non-alcoholic. I'm just like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't claim it's, from the research I've done, I don't claim it's healthy for you, but it's supposed to not be bad for you because they say it's the alcohol in the beer that's really the problem. But if you like have one every now and then. But yeah, I picked up a taste for beer.
But you don't have one every now and then. Now you have them in the refrigerator all the time.
Yeah, in the refrigerator. But I don't drink them all. That's why they're in the refrigerator.
Do you drink them
time.
Do you drink one a week?
Yeah, I might have one a week.
You have more.
I may have like one or two a week.
I remember when I was
drink
in
so
college,
much water, I hardly have room for anything else.
I remember when I was in college and I was there was this guy who I dealt with, and a lot of people were telling me that he had a girlfriend, and I'd ask him, and he'd be like, "I don't have a girlfriend." And they like, first of all, y'all look just alike. People would tell me, "You look like so and so." I can't remember her name anyway. But he anyway, and she was on study abroad. And it turns out that they were right. And he was telling me one thing. But anyway, this dude would drink a 6-pack every night. We would sit in the quad and he would drink a 6-pack. And I don't know. I mean, he never seemed drunk to me. I never noticed, and we were not intimate enough for me to like smell his breath.
Right.
But that seems like a lot, like a 6-pack a day seems like a lot.
My thing is, quiet. I don't think I could drink a 6-pack of water. You know what I mean? I can't drink that much liquid. One thing I do notice is,
I drink a gallon of water a day.
Yeah, I know.
That's more than a 6-pack, isn't it?
It probably is, either close to or it might be a little bit more. I don't know. But I drink a lot of water, and I found that I've gotten to where I eat 1.5 meals a day.
Really?
Like if I eat, like even
but do you
the day
snack?
before yesterday, I'll snack.
I have to observe you more closely, sir, to see what's really going on.
You haven't noticed I typically only eat once a day.
Yeah, kind of. But I don't know. But I feel like
after I eat something, I'm like full the rest of the day.
But then I guess I feel like just because we don't always eat together, like I might be in here working and you might. So I don't know. You could be. So I might not, just because I don't see you, I haven't,
How many times do I say, or how often do I say, and this is like almost close to the end of the day, I'm like, bro, I haven't eaten anything all day. And I just forget to eat. But
also I think you forget, like, you'll be like, I haven't eaten anything all day. And some days I'll be like, yeah, you had, potatoes and this morning, remember?
And stuff like that I'll remember. If I had to prepare something,
I've had conversations with you, sweetheart, where you'll be like, I haven't eaten anything all day. And I'll be like, yeah, you had so-and-so.
Right. Oh, in those cases, I'll say, yeah, I did have that. But,
right. That's what I'm saying.
But typically...
but I think also sometimes maybe you're snacking and you don't, like, you'll be like, I haven't eaten anything all day. And maybe you'll be like, well,
that's
I had
the thing.
When
I say I haven't eaten all day, I may have some chips or something. It's like when I just got finished eating that bowl of grapes and then ate some cheese puffs behind it. Excuse me. At the end of the day, I'll probably be like, "Oh, I haven't eaten anything all day," and it's because I haven't eaten a prepared meal, an actual sit down meal. I may have grabbed something, but I find myself eating less because I drink a lot of that water. Because after you got that Berkey, like you say, water doesn't have a taste. Water has a taste to me, and it tastes good, especially when it's cold.
I have to work hard to drink my water, but I do like our Berkey, and Yeah,
I love me some cold water. If it's warm, I don't want to drink it.
When I became a vegetarian, I didn't have, in terms of transition, and I think sometimes I wonder, like, well, can one get stuck in the transition and not continue to elevate? But when I became a vegetarian, a lot of the veggie burger, like even now, like some of this fake meat, it seems so meaty to me that it freaks me out. Like I think I prefer a veggie burger where I can see the beans in there and the corn and the rice, like where I can process what's in it. When I see those veggie burgers that like sometimes they like I can't think about it too much because it just freaks me out. Now, when I became a vegetarian, there was like soy. I would do like TVP. So like the fake hamburger I don't process that like in chili or something like that.
Right.
Like I process that like TVP. Like, so I don't, and at some point I stopped eating it because I would only get organic soy and I stopped dealing with a lot of soy anyway. But if I got soy, it would be organic or whatever. But anyway, I just say continue to elevate, figure out, what can I do today to add value? How can I continue to grow and develop and improve? And, I'm a water baby, and not like stagnant water, but like running water, like, so like, let's keep it moving, keep it fresh, keep it vibrant, and talk about.
Yeah, and that's all I would say is don't get discouraged if you eat something that you feel like you shouldn't have eaten or whatever, because it's a process. For like I said, some people like seafood. I went cold turkey, like I said, but the other stuff I just phased out, and then moved into something different, and I'll end up phasing that out.
And I would say be encouraged. Any step you can take. Any food, anything you can eat that adds value, celebrate it. Right. Yay, you!
And just load up on whatever vegetables you like. I like Brussels sprouts.
Do you?
I mean, is it Brussels sprouts? Yeah, Brussels sprouts.
Oh.
I eat Brussels sprouts. I like corn a lot. Corn's not the best. I had to get used to brown rice.
Yeah.
But then now I make it. Yeah. Every time we run out, I make some more.
Yeah.
I love brown rice. I didn't know how to prepare it before.
Yeah.
To my taste, but now
you got it to where you like it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And see, I like the texture of brown rice, but I love string beans these days. I don't know where I developed, because I grew up eating the kind of string beans I made last night, which are cooked to death. But then within the last few years, I really got into like baked, roasted vegetables, and I love me some roasted string beans when they get a little crispy on it.
I like when we have like the string beans with the little baby potatoes in them.
Oh, yeah. I hardly ever do. The boiled ones or the roasted ones?
The roasted ones.
Oh
man!
I have such a hard time making cooking potatoes. But anyway. So yeah, I want to move on if we're going to move on, or maybe we should just end this conversation.
I think we'll, because we're at 45 minutes.
Okay.
So we'll table the other.
We'll table.
Yeah.
Do we need to take a vote, or?
Nope.
Oh, just by mutual consent.
Mutual consent.
Okay.
We'll table that till next time. Because if I start talking about that movie, I ain't gonna do nothing but get mad anyway.
Really?
Yeah, I get tired of being mad all the time.
Yeah, you were
watching
saying that
oh my
morning.
God, these freaking people out here.
Yeah.
It's you watch a movie like the Billie Holiday movie.
Baby, we said we're not going to talk about it.
I know, but you just
No, baby, let's not talk about it now, because I want to. It's some stuff, and maybe then I'll have read some stuff.
And then Coming to America starts tonight.
Are we going to watch it?
I'm not in a big hurry to see it, because it looks like it's a bunch of mess and confusion. It's like when I was watching. I used to watch Lois and Clark, and it took them so long to get together on that show. That show ran 4 seasons. I think they finally got together in like the 3rd season. By the time they got together, I didn't care.
That's like, what was that? Moonlighting? Did you ever see that sitcom Moonlighting?
Bruce Willis and
yeah. And they were like, "Are they gonna?" It was like, and it just
Sybil Shepherd.
It got tiring.
Yeah, that's it.
It's like I like some romantic tension,
right?
Because I like to watch me some romance,
right? I don't.
But I like the romantic
sometimes
tension.
I like them.
I like a little tension, but it can get tiring. But
and that's kind of like Coming to America. I'm like, they waited way too long
So for those people who are listening, let's not talk about films, but what are some strategies and techniques you have for elevating your eating? Is there anything you can think of to kind of like refresh your commitment to separate or take the next step in the direction of separating, from this agricultural, pharmaceutical, BS, corporate, white people system? What can you, like sometimes if I know, like sometimes it's like I'll be breaking my fast because I do intermittent fasting, and I'll be like I might be like, I'm going to make something, but before I do that, let me eat this grapefruit. Before I do that, let me drink my water. I try to put something in my system first that's wholesome and healthy, even if I know.
Well, that's like, I just had those cheese puffs, but I had like that bowl of grapes first.
Is that like a policy that you have? Do you try to do that?
No, I just grabbed them because they were easy to grab.
Oh, now see, I have an actual policy.
But the grapes, I guess my philosophy on that is like the Honeycrisp apples and grapes and whatever you like, keep around you that's natural and easy for you to get at or eat. And because then that way you're not really forcing yourself to do anything. It's like when I make the fruit salads and I put the blueberries in them, I'm not crazy about blueberries. I like them, but I'm not crazy about them.
I think blueberries are my favorite.
Yeah, when I add that to the fruit salad and then put that it's not honey,
that bee pollen
in it.
It's supposed to be good for inflammation.
Right. So, I'm not crazy about the taste of the bee pollen, but in the context of the fruit salad,
it's okay.
It's
bearable.
Yeah. It's more than bearable. It's good. It adds another layer of flavor to it.
Oh, it adds a dimension. Yeah. I don't even think I noticed it. I've been using it since we got that bottle from the black company. What is it called? You had me get it.
I think it's Zach and Zoe.
Yeah. So we ordered some honey.
That's a black-owned.
We haven't even used the honey, but I got this bee pollen, and it's almost gone.
Yeah, give them a plug, honey.
Zach and Zoe, Sweet Bee Farm. And you
can find that product and others on their website. They sell honeys and bee pollens and so on. And it's all natural.
And it's in a glass jar. I love a glass jar.
Right.
But ZACH... ampersand, that kind of and then ZOE with 2 dots over it. But I think that's how I found them. And I think I should have gotten a bigger thing of bee pollen. I might be into bee pollen now. It used to be like kind of a trend about 25 years ago or something. People were into bee pollen and I was never into it. But I don't know if I'm into it or not.
So that'll do you better than irradiated sea moss.
Oh, will it?
Yes.
I don't know. I don't have an opinion.
Yeah, so...
It says it's a wonderful for natural allergy relief and is responsible for many health benefits of raw honey.
So, there you go. And again, it's black-owned. Just go to their website. It's Zach, Z-A-C-H, and Zoe, Z-O-E.
Z-O-E.
Okay.
All right, people, good people. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful life. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
And so this is Ayapo Yapa, the HDIC, that's the head drapetomaniac in charge, wishing you peace and blessings, safety, security, and sanity through separation. And my beautiful wife,
Angela.
And until next week at the same time, when we may or may not be talking about the Billie Holiday movie.
Did you see it? What you think? I saw it twice.
Yeah, until then, we'll catch you
on the run. Peace.
And thank you again for listening to the Drapetomaniac podcast. Tune in next week at doiamedia.com. DOIAMEDIA.com. And again, we'll catch you on the run. Peace.